So hi everyone, welcome to our session. Today's session is on a topic related to breathing and to respiratory issues, which is called snoring. So snoring is a problem that affects usually the person who's sleeping with us rather than us directly. So we'll talk about that a little bit, the causes of it, the physical causes, and we'll also talk about the mental patterns, and we'll use those mental patterns to also help us reflect on our life. Okay, so with that, let's start. Let's close our eyes, connect the tongue to the palate. Let us invoke to the Supreme God, Divine Father, Divine Mother. We thank you for your priceless blessings, for divine light, divine love, divine guidance, divine love, mercy, inner healing, physical healing. Thank you for the inner strength to practice regularly. Thank you for the divine help and protection, for illumination, abundance, and prosperity. We thank you. Inhale and exhale. Okay, so let's start. So today's topic is snoring, and snoring, as we said, affects the other person. So what exactly causes snoring? So I'm not a medical doctor, so if you have a particular issue, it will be good if you consult your medical doctor. But from the information available to us, both as healers as well as on the internet, I made a couple of notes, and what I understand is that basically what happens is that um, the passage of from the nose down to the throat becomes weak, so to say. And because it becomes weak, it is not able to allow the free passage of air. So sometimes what happens is that the roof of the mouth is not strong enough to remain stable. So that begins to fall. And when it falls into the mouth, it kind of obstructs the air going back and forth. Sometimes it can also happen that the tongue does not remain in place, and that also can create an obstruction. And the other thing is, of course, the muscles of the throat. Now, one thing with pranic healing is that when we heal somebody for a particular ailment, even if a client comes to us, let's say for an ailment like snoring, but let's say there are other issues involved, such as something called sleep apnea, which is an obstructive disorder. Uh, so obstructive pulmonary disorder. So what happens is that when we do healing, because we understand the system and the chakras that are affecting the respiratory system, we will generally heal somebody of more than just what they came for. And along with that, we will also work on the emotions and the thoughts which are perhaps causing this particular issue. Okay, so one second. Okay, so one of the things again that we'll refer to is the book Heal Your Life by Louise Hayes. The idea of referring to her book is to understand perhaps the mental patterns that are causing the snoring, and therefore, of course, be able to help us to heal them, right? So because if we know the mental pattern, then we can work on it in the conscious level. And if we are working on somebody who has this particular problem, then we can also help them by removing some of those patterns at the energy level. Okay, so one of the reasons mental patterns that may be causing snoring is, according to Louise Hay, is stubborn refusal to let go of old patterns. So once again, I'm speaking stubborn refusal to let go of old patterns. Now, again, those of us who are in the school, you'll be wondering like, okay, how would I know what's the stubborn pattern that I have? How do I like get rid of it if I'm not even aware of it? Because sometimes we meet people who do have some very rigid ideas, but if we try to talk to them about those ideas, they kind of like back off, and they just feel uncomfortable. So the awareness firstly that we have some old patterns that are causing us to be a little stubborn, and the other thing is, of course, the willingness to let them go. So how do we let them go? So when we practice Arhatic yoga, we have a couple of tools to do it. And apart from that, we also have the tool called inner reflection and firm resolution, which we teach in the basic pranic healing workshop. So what we'll do now is, I'd like for us, and I'm going to read out the correct mental pattern as well. But before that, I'd like us to just take a few seconds and just think of perhaps one small little mental pattern, old pattern that perhaps we need to let go of. Something that we may be aware of or we may not be aware of. But let's just take a few seconds and just think. Okay, so do I feel that, for example, that drinking milk, like children drinking milk, is a good thing because that's what we grew up with, not realizing that now a lot of children that are being born are actually allergic to milk. They are lactose intolerant, especially to cow's milk, not to mother's milk, but they are allergic to cow's milk, for example. Then there may be another pattern where we may think that like that we need to open our windows at a certain time and we need to close the windows at a certain time. Okay, so again, those patterns are probably coming from the times when, like, I remember when we had to close the windows because the mosquitoes was coming. But these days, the kind of areas where we live, I don't know if there are mosquitoes or not, and if there are, do we need to close and open our windows accordingly? I'm just coming up with like really simple things, but I think the idea is to help us just to be aware that do we have any particular pattern that we would be better off without, especially if it relates to money, for example. If it relates to money, if it relates to health. Sometimes we're just so stuck. I remember there was this one lady who had come to me, and the family was insisting that the child needs to be fed like 3 glasses of milk, and the child was just not interested in the milk. And the child had a lactose intolerance, and over time it developed into a bigger problem, as in like an allergy, then a couple of other problems. So just be aware of what are the patterns that we are being like really rigid about, uh, and what is it that we need to let go of. Okay, now the replacement pattern is I release all that is unlike love and joy in my mind. I move from the past into the new and fresh and vital. I release all that is unlike love and joy in my mind. I move from the past into the new, the fresh, and the vital. Okay, so what we are basically saying here, what Louise is suggesting is that we basically get rid of the old pattern and we replace it with like a new pattern, right? So let's say we replace, I mean, we all have our own patterns. So let's just think of those patterns and let us now think of um, how we could change that particular pattern. So just think about it. We all have our own patterns. So let's think of what are the words that we are going to use when that situation arises again. What are the actions that we're going to take? And most importantly, what is the thought that we are going to have? So if someone has drilled in our head, for example, that children must drink milk, do we need to examine the fact that A, perhaps the milk is not of the same quality anymore, B, the child may be lactose intolerant, the child doesn't want to drink milk, I don't know. So can we first be open to examining why this is happening? And then let's think of how we can change it. So when we work on our own mental patterns, what we basically allow ourselves to do is to change. So when we work with pranic healing, what we are essentially doing is that we are removing certain energies from the body. The energies we remove are the ones that the client has asked us to remove. So if you go to somebody who is a healer and you ask them to heal you of something, they will try to remove all the obstructive negative energies that are there in those particular chakras related to that particular ailment. And after removing those negative energies, the healer, we'll try and replace those energies with positive energies, with the energies of what you want instead. So, for example, if you can't breathe properly, then we'll replace it with good energy, which will hopefully help us to breathe. So snoring basically involves, like we said, the collapsing of the muscles starting from the roof of the mouth going down to the throat. So what pranic healing can do is that we can regenerate the strength in those muscles, in that airway, and make it strong again. If it's related to sleep apnea or to what is called obstructive breathing. So that is basically a situation where literally, oxygen does not reach the lungs while the person is sleeping. It's called sleep apnea. Oxygen literally does not, it like shuts off. And once the oxygen level begins to fall, then at some point the brain just kind of like wakes them up. And people who have sleep apnea will often just kind of like wake up with a start. It's like, ah, what happened? That's because, the body kind of wakes them up and says, listen, I can't, there's not enough oxygen. So they wake up with a start. Okay. So again, we have solutions for sleep apnea. Of course, there are many physical solutions in the medical world, and we can also help complement that by strengthening this entire system, especially the respiratory system. So today what we're going to do is, let's just again go through the affirmation. The affirmation is, whatever is unlike love and joy. So let's think of something that we want, that is, meaningful, that is loving, because it involves the lungs, it involves the ability to take in life. And let us be open to receiving God's love, power, and protection and intelligence. Let's be aware of a mental pattern that may have supported us in our previous endeavors when we have been financially successful. Let's be aware and let's bless that particular pattern. Let's be aware of our health targets. Let's be aware of a pattern, a good habit that has helped us to get to better health. Let's be aware of a pattern that has helped us to improve our relationships, and a pattern that has helped us to remain spiritual. Now, let's take a few seconds to also think of patterns that we wish to let go of. And let's invoke to the Buddha Kuan Yin, to the Supreme God, to help us to release any patterns that do not serve our financial goals, our health goals, our relationship goals, and our spiritual goals. We let go. We let go of any negative thoughts. I am not the thought. I am not the emotions. I am not the thoughts. I am the soul. I'm here on a journey. I'm here to learn the lessons of this lifetime. As I go along this journey, there will be many obstacles. Every time I clear an obstacle, I will smile and feel good about myself. I am that I am. Inhale and exhale. Let's be aware of all the financial targets of every person in this group. Let's bless them. All the health targets of everyone on the group, relationship targets, and spiritual targets. Let's bless our projects, our clients, our family members, anything else that we'd like to. And once we're done, let's massage our face, our scalp, neck, shoulders, arms, chest, the hips, the thighs. Okay. Over to Priya for the exercises. Okay,
Eye rotation clockwise 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The other way 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Next side to side 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Upper body twist 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Hip rotations 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Squats. 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Spine bending forward, backward. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Arm rotations. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The other way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 12. Stretch your elbows. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Wrist rotation. 3, 4, 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Stretch your fingers. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Knee flex. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. Left side. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Ankle rotation clockwise. 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The other way. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. Left leg. 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The other way. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Stretch your toes. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 10, 11, 12. Left leg. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12. And clap. Thank you.
So thank you everyone for joining, and I hope you had a good session. We will see you soon.